When your own parents ditch your dying plea to see Elton John, it's more than betrayal. It's war. I remember the moment I realized my parents never really loved me. Not the way they should have. It was the night before Christmas. Snow piled up on the windowsills of the hospital room, my stomach clenching in pain, and my two toddlers, Liam and Lily, playing quietly with the nurse's donated plush toys in the corner. The nurse, Angela, was checking my vitals, whispering comforting things I couldn't process because all I could hear was my mother's voice over FaceTime, practically screaming into the phone. "Don't you dare guilt trip us, Meredith. We've had these Elton John tickets for 6 months. Yeah. 6 months of planning apparently trumped their daughter bleeding internally. I was 34, a widow, and desperately trying to hold myself together. My husband died 8 months earlier, hit by a truck on his way home from work. That crash didn't just kill my soulmate. It detonated the last piece of peace I had left. Now, the doctors told me I needed emergency surgery. Something about a ruptured cyst and possible sepsis. I didn't have the strength to remember the medical jargon. I only knew one thing. I wouldn't survive if I didn't go under the knife soon. I need someone to stay with Liam and Lily. I had told them earlier that morning. Just for a night, please. And that's when my dad dropped the bomb that made my stomach hurt worse than the internal bleeding. "Meredith, we're retired. We've earned our peace. You're becoming a burden." A burden. That word sat on my chest like a sandbag, while my body crumbled from the inside out. Here's the twisted part. Every month since their early retirement, I'd been sending them $2,000 like clockwork, paid their HOA fees, covered their property taxes when they were tight, and even helped finance the trip of a lifetime last spring to Tuscany. But the minute I needed them, I became a burden. Angela, the nurse, saw the tears sliding down my cheeks. She didn't say much, just patted my hand gently. "I have a friend," she whispered. "A nanny. Works with kids who've been through trauma. Let me call her for you." I nodded, not because I had energy or hope left, but because I didn't have any other cards to play. While Angela made that call, I stared out the hospital window at the blinking lights in the city below. Christmas decorations sparkled like lies, fake joy on display. I kept glancing at Liam and Lily, barely 2 years old and already fatherless. Would they become motherless too? Would my parents even care? I didn't know what scared me more, dying on the operating table or the thought of those innocent faces growing up in a world where people they trusted left them behind for concerts. Angela came back in 20 minutes. "Her name's Natalie. She'll be here in 45 minutes. She said yes." I cried harder. Natalie arrived just before I was wheeled into the OR. She was calm, compassionate, and brilliant with the twins. She brought quiet, a presence that made them settle instantly. She even sang Liam to sleep. As the surgical team prepped me, I asked Angela to do one more thing. "Can you bring me my phone?" I had 2 messages to send, and they'd change everything. The first went to my bank. I canceled all automatic payments to my parents' account. The second? To them. Effective immediately, I will no longer provide financial support. My children and I deserve better than being your afterthought. Do not contact me again. I hit send, and for the first time in 34 years, I felt something close to peace. They wheeled me away seconds later. Waking up after surgery felt like surfacing from the bottom of a frozen lake. Everything was blurry, my mouth dry, my body weak, but I was alive. The nurse told me the procedure took 3 hours. They managed to stop the internal bleeding just in time. "Another day, Meredith," she said, "and we wouldn't be having this conversation." Natalie was still there. She stayed through the night, curled up on the hospital couch with Lily in one arm and Liam in the other, both fast asleep. She wasn't just a nanny. She was a damn miracle. The first time I saw my phone again, there were 31 missed calls and more than a dozen texts. Every single one was from my parents or my sister, Kayla. Most of the messages were predictable. First, confusion, then rage, then desperation. "You can't just cut us off. This is cruel and unnecessary. We've already booked the New Year's cruise. It's non-refundable. Call us now." Not one asked how my surgery went. Not one mentioned the twins. Not one even pretended to care. Kayla's messages, though, were different. "What's going on? Mom said you had some minor outpatient thing. Why are they freaking out? Did something actually happen?" And that's when I realized the full scope of their betrayal. They lied to her, told her I was exaggerating, that I was pulling one of my stunts again. According to them, I wasn't bleeding internally. I was being dramatic. The same old Meredith who always needed attention. I texted her back and told her the truth. Everything. I wasn't sure what I expected, more skepticism maybe. But her reply came fast. "Oh my God, Meredith, I had no idea. I swear, if I'd known, I would have come. I would have helped. I'm so sorry." I believed her. Kayla wasn't the problem. Not really. She'd been groomed to believe I was the black sheep, the needy one, the drama queen. And for years, I bought into it too. But now I saw it for what it was. Manipulation. Classic narcissistic conditioning. They had always made me feel like I was too much, too emotional, too demanding. What I really was too independent, and that scared them. The hospital released me 5 days later. I was shaky, dizzy, and still healing, but alive. Natalie had stayed with the twins every night. During the day, she brought them back to the hospital so we could all be together. I hired her on the spot. Part-time, to start. But I was already rethinking my whole life's infrastructure. No more $2,000 handouts to people who saw me as an ATM. That money now went to real support for my children and me. Before I left the hospital, I called a lawyer. I asked him to update my will. I named a new guardian for Liam and Lily in case anything ever happened to me. Someone who actually showed up when it mattered. My parents were not even mentioned. Back home, things were quieter than I'd imagined. Not easier, just quieter. Like the calm after a storm that nearly wipes out your entire town. Natalie kept showing up. Kayla visited twice in the first week, and for the first time, she didn't bring our parents' agenda with her. Just food, books for the twins, conversation. "I'm starting to see them clearly now," she said over coffee one afternoon. "I always thought you were just distant, but now I know they were pushing you out." It felt like exhaling after holding my breath for 10 years. Then came the knock. 2 weeks after the surgery, I opened the door a crack and found them, my parents. Standing in designer coats, holding gift bags, with matching fake concern plastered on their faces. "Meredith, sweetheart," my mom began. "We've been so worried." I didn't say anything, just stared. "We need to talk," my dad added, "about this situation." Translation: about the money. I opened the door just enough to speak. "I'm fine. The twins are fine. You made your choice. There's nothing to discuss." He stepped forward, trying to push the door further open. "The bank called. Our mortgage payment bounced. We had to dip into the cruise fund." My breath caught, not because I was shocked, but because the audacity was still stunning, even now. No questions about my health. No checking on the kids. Just panic over their next vacation. "We adjusted our lives based on your support," my mom said, her voice trembling with fake emotion. I laughed. Actually laughed. You adjusted your lives around free money you manipulated me into giving you. And when I needed help that would have cost you nothing, you left me to die. For Elton John. Her face paled. My dad looked like he was about to erupt. You're being unfair, he snapped. We made one mistake. No, I said coldly. You made a lifetime of them. I just finally opened my eyes. Just then, Liam wandered into the hallway holding his stuffed bear. My mom crouched, suddenly all saccharine. There's my sweet baby. Grandma brought you presents. He froze, then took a step back. He didn't recognize her. That's how often they visited. I closed the door in their faces. The next day, they returned with backup. My aunt, who always played the peacekeeper, she begged, pleaded, claimed they were devastated and misunderstood. They're losing everything, she whispered through the door. The house, the car, the timeshare. They managed their finances just fine for decades without my help, I replied. They can do it again. I'm not their plan B anymore. That afternoon, they sent a family-wide email, a carefully crafted tale about how I'd cut them off and abandoned them in their time of need after everything they'd done for me. They forgot one thing, receipts, and I had plenty. The email they sent to our entire extended family was dripping with calculated sorrow. Words like betrayal and emotional blackmail were thrown around like confetti at a pity party. What they didn't count on? That people would actually ask me what happened. My cousin Melanie, who I hadn't seen since my wedding, was the first to text me. Hey, your mom sent some email. Are you okay? Want to talk? Then my Uncle James called. Then 3 of my aunts. And eventually, my cousin Ryan, who lived 20 minutes from my parents, added a reply all to the email thread that set the tone. Didn't y'all just buy a new SUV last month? And what about that lake trip? You sure this is about being abandoned or about the gravy train drying up? After that, it was like opening a floodgate. I didn't even need to defend myself. My family started putting the pieces together on their own. But I still sent one final message, addressed only to the relatives who had asked directly. It read, I recently underwent emergency surgery due to internal bleeding. My parents refused to help care for my children because they didn't want to miss a concert. I've since decided to prioritize my health and my children's stability. I'm no longer in a position to fund a lifestyle that left me feeling disposable. Thank you to those who've reached out in support. I kept it short. Director, no theatrics. The silence from my parents after that was deafening. But behind the scenes, things were unraveling for them fast. Jessica, my sister, called me one night, nearly whispering through the phone like she was scared someone might hear her. I went over there, she said. They're spiraling. Apparently, the mortgage I'd been helping them pay, they'd taken out a second one against the house a year ago, to buy a boat. A boat, and the financial strain they claimed to be under? Self-inflicted. They'd spent their retirement funds on luxury items, trusting that I'd continue to be their golden goose indefinitely. They're not broke, Jessica said, disgusted. They're just broke compared to the lifestyle they built on your back. It all made sense. I was never a daughter to them. I was a walking wallet. And now that the ATM was out of service, the facade was cracking. Meanwhile, my life, without them, was blooming. I joined a support group for young, widowed parents. The first Zoom session made me cry more than I had since James died. But it also made me feel seen in a way I hadn't felt in years. That group introduced me to Rachel, a therapist and mom of 2 who lost her husband to cancer. She offered to trade free therapy sessions for help designing a memorial website for him. And just like that, a new side hustle was born, custom websites for grieving families. It wasn't just income. It was healing. For the first time since I lost James, I was doing something that gave me purpose. Natalie continued helping with the twins, 3 days a week now, and Jessica started coming over on weekends. She wasn't just showing up, she was stepping up, reading stories to Liam, helping Lily build pillow forts, cooking dinner when I was too tired. One Saturday, we were folding laundry, and she said something that stopped me cold. "I think I believed them too long, that you were the dramatic one. But now I see you were just surviving alone." She didn't ask for forgiveness. She gave me something more valuable: truth. But of course, the storm wasn't over, not even close. A month after my surgery, the inevitable happened. The house my parents had mortgaged to the brink? Foreclosure notice, Jessica told me. Her voice was shaky but steady. "They have 60 days to catch up, or it's gone." And then the texts started. Again. "Please, Meredith, we need $144,000. We're begging you. It's your family home. Without your help, we'll be on the streets." I didn't respond. So they showed up. Again. But this time, I let them in. Not out of guilt, out of curiosity. They came in with a full spreadsheet of debts, credit card bills, and a proposed contribution plan. I skimmed it. "You need $144,000? I asked. They nodded. "What about selling the boat?" I asked, looking my father in the eye. "That would be a loss," he said flatly. "And the timeshare?" "Market's terrible," my mom chirped in. "We tried." I nearly laughed again. "Luxuries you can't afford." "We could, if you helped." There it was again. The entitlement. The complete erasure of my humanity, my trauma, my actual near-death experience. My mother added, "We raised you. That counts for something." "Did you?" I replied quietly. "Because I remember raising myself." The twins came toddling into the room mid-conversation. My parents instantly went soft. "Oh, there's my sweet girl," my mom said to Lily. Lily didn't move, didn't smile. She walked over and grabbed my hand. "She doesn't know you," I said flatly. "You've seen them what? 4 times in their lives? You don't get to play grandma now." Their faces crumbled. "We'll lose everything," my mom said again. "I lost my husband," I said. "We survived. You will too." I didn't slam the door this time. I didn't need to. Their own decisions were finally doing the job for me. By the time the foreclosure was final, my parents were unrecognizable, even to themselves. They moved into a modest 2-bedroom condo on the edge of town. Gone were the wine tours, spa days, and cruises. The boat? Sold at a massive loss. The timeshare? Dumped in an online auction for pennies. Jessica kept me updated, though I kept my distance. Not because I wanted to punish them, but because I needed the quiet to rebuild. "They're telling people you betrayed the family," she said one evening while helping me pack up boxes. I was moving. Natalie had tipped me off to a small, affordable house in a kid-friendly neighborhood with good schools and even better neighbors. It had a tiny backyard, but to Liam and Lily, it might as well have been Disneyland. As we packed toys and folded clothes, I replied, "Let them talk." And I meant it. The truth had a habit of showing up eventually. I didn't need to broadcast it. I was living it. Our new home was nothing fancy. 3 bedrooms, an outdated kitchen. But it had light, real soft morning light that filtered through the kitchen windows and made coffee taste like hope. Neighbors came by with casseroles and gift baskets. One mom offered to swap babysitting on Fridays. Another, whose husband was a contractor, offered to fix the broken fence for free. I hadn't known this kind of kindness existed outside of fairy tales. Jessica became a regular part of our lives. She started spending weekends with us, helping with the twins, learning how to cook, badly but with effort, and slowly transforming from the sister I tolerated into the sister I trusted. Natalie stayed on too, watching Liam and Lily part-time while I launched a side business full-time. Custom memorial websites. What started as a tribute to James became a purpose I hadn't realized I needed. I'd designed over 20 sites in the first 3 months, each one a story, a life honored. And the demand only grew. My financial footing, once cracked and uncertain, began to stabilize. For the first time in years, I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving. Then, 6 months after the surgery, it arrived. A letter, handwritten, from my mother. My first instinct was to throw it out, but curiosity, that old itch, it won. Inside was something I never thought I'd read. An apology, not a veiled one. Not a manipulative, sorry you feel that way version. A real, trembling, honest confession. I've had time to reflect, it began. Watching you live without us, without our help, forced me to see who I've been. I was never the mother you needed. I was jealous of your strength and punished you for it. I confused control with care, and I'm sorry. She went on to say they were in therapy, that my dad had been diagnosed with high blood pressure after a recent scare and was finally confronting his own mortality. She didn't ask for money. She didn't ask for forgiveness, just acknowledgement. I showed the letter to Jessica, who raised an eyebrow. They've been talking about writing you for weeks, she said. Dad didn't want to. Mom insisted. Is it real? I asked. Jessica paused. I think it might be. For the first time? Maybe. I didn't respond right away. I needed time to breathe, to weigh the difference between change and strategy. Then, a year after the surgery, I agreed to meet them. Neutral ground, a quiet coffee shop across town. No kids, no expectations. When they walked in, I barely recognized them. My father, once broad and boisterous, looked smaller. Not physically, but in spirit, humbled. My mother, always overdressed, wore jeans and a faded cardigan. They sat down without speaking. No tears, no gifts, just silence. Then my father did the impossible. He cried. I've been a terrible father, he said, his voice cracking, and a worse grandfather. My mother nodded. We started therapy, real therapy, not just lip service. They didn't ask for anything that day. They didn't beg or plead or shift blame. Instead, they asked one question. Would it be possible, my dad whispered, to know our grandchildren? Someday? I stared at them for a long time, and then I said the words that marked a new beginning. Not a forgiveness, but a boundary. That depends on your actions, not your words. They didn't expect me to say yes, not fully. And I didn't, not right away. After that coffee shop meeting, I told them we'd start slow. Supervised visits only, in public spaces. 1 hour, no exceptions. To my surprise, they agreed. We met at a park the first time. The twins played in the sandbox while I sat with my parents at a nearby bench. They watched, hesitant, awkward. My mother brought picture books, and my dad, well, he just watched them, quietly. He didn't try to force conversation. He didn't push hugs or ask to hold anyone. He just watched. I don't think they remember us, he murmured. They don't, I replied, and we left it at that. Over the next few months, the visits became more consistent. The twins warmed up, slowly. My parents didn't try to push past boundaries, which in itself was a shock. They'd sold most of their luxury items, picked up part-time jobs, and were finally living within their means. I could see the shift in them. It didn't erase the years of pain, but it mattered. Meanwhile, my business had grown into something I never imagined. I hired another designer. I started doing workshops for grieving families on how to memorialize loved ones digitally. James would have been proud. I was sure of it. Jessica moved into an apartment just 10 minutes from me. She became the kind of aunt Liam and Lily adored. They ran to her when she visited. She babysat. She baked, still badly. But she showed up. I never expected to rebuild a family after mine collapsed. But I did. Not the one I came from. The one I chose to create. And here's the kicker. About 18 months after that terrible Christmas Eve in the hospital, I got a call from Angela, the nurse who first helped me. She was being promoted and moving to a new hospital across the state. I wanted to say goodbye, she said. You were the one patient I never forgot. I owe you everything, I said. You gave me Natalie. She paused. You gave yourself Natalie. You asked for help. That's what changed your life. I hung up the phone, stared out the kitchen window, and realized something I hadn't said out loud until then. I wasn't a burden. I never was. I was a survivor, a mother, a provider, and now, a creator of my own peace. That spring, Liam and Lily turned 4. We had a birthday party in our backyard with neighbors, friends, Jessica, and yes, even my parents. They brought cupcakes. They stayed for an hour. They said goodbye when it was time. And when they left, my mother turned back, eyes misty. You look happy, Meredith. I nodded. I am. Because I finally understood something vital. You can't choose the family you're born into, but you can choose the one you build. And I chose right.